Hi everyone, welcome. It's been 12 days now since we came in here last to give these two systems their 12th feeding, and these are the original red wiggler worms. A couple of systems that have been going for 144 days now. After 12 days, I'm wondering what kind of leftovers we may or may not find of the last feeding. The last feeding was stuff like melon and cucumber, and I think there was even a couple other really juicy items in there, stuff that could possibly be gone pretty quick. So the feedings were placed down the middle. So looks like we've got some slow composting old objects hidden away over here. Well, not really hidden away, but that's the stem of a pumpkin. A couple worms hanging out on it. And what do we got here? That's the stem of a banana. Also a somewhat slow composting item, but not nearly as slow as the pumpkin stem. And here's half of a mango seed husk. Well, let's see, is there a little object protruding the surface? Another pumpkin stem. In this case, one that seems a little bit more popular with the wormies. And wouldn't be too surprising to find some other slow composting objects in here. Alright, so these are bits and pieces of avocado pit. Just broke into 4 pieces almost effortlessly in my fingertips. Sometimes this stuff just sits and takes forever to break up. That's some skin, outer skin of the cantaloupe melon rind. So there are a couple chunks of that. You can see they've done away with all the yummy melon that was adhering to it, and they left that stuff. They're not going to leave it forever. It'll also get consumed as it softens up and becomes edible. So we got all kinds of interesting slow and fast moving foods in here. This was the end of the cantaloupe melon. So it was like a little bit of a dish full of yummy melon. Here's a couple worms still enjoying possibly a little bit of leftover stuff that's still stuck to it. And I'm glad to see that the moisture is holding up so nicely down in these systems. I mean, we only probed a little bit into bin number 2. Then I realized that, hey, maybe we should be starting over at bin number 1. It's the only proper way to do it, after all, isn't it? Whatever. We got a little sneak peek into the feeding zone of bin number 2 as well with some of those slow composting items. I'm sure as far as the rest of it goes, we're going to see a whole bunch more similar leftovers of cantaloupe melon rind. Over here we've even got a little bit of the actual melon remaining. It hasn't been quite all eaten by the worms. I guess 12 days. It was the sort of food I expected to be gone much more quickly, but it's not a huge surprise that there's still some leftovers remaining here and there. Here I definitely saw a lot more leftover shredded paper cardboard. My prepared bedding mix over here as leftovers. Over here in bin number 1 I didn't really see any. So maybe there is sort of a craving for bedding type materials. And here's some more stuff that may or may not want to break. In the other bin, the avocado pit just broke into little pieces effortlessly, or was that here? And this one just doesn't want to give. And what do we got over here? We got some similar leftovers. It doesn't matter so much where they're at. As far as I'm concerned, the leftovers could just be blended in anywhere and everywhere. But usually I'll tend towards keeping things together, especially the slow composting items that we might want to periodically check in on. So if nothing else, I'll probably return those sort of things to the middle. The other things I won't worry so much if they get scattered about. So let's prepare each feeding zone with a nice bit of bedding. I'm going to assume I applied the same amount into both systems last time, so I'll do the same again. Maybe we can even apply a little bit more into bin number 1 here. Now let's be consistent. It did seem like bin number 1 somehow managed to do away with much more of whatever bedding they might have gotten, but I could just be sort of having a figment of my imagination or something. Maybe it's not true, maybe it just seems that way. So let's just be consistent. Nice little sprinkling of bedding into the feeding area. Is always something that the worms are probably going to welcome. And then we can come in with today's scrumptious meal of a whole bunch of potato peel. Let's make sure we give each system a fair shake at the stuff. It's kind of frozen, so let's see if we can dislodge some of it from itself. There's a little bit more. Let's spread it around evenly into both systems, and then the rest of the stuff that you see here is the peels of cucumber. I would think that both of these foods bring with themselves a little bit of moisture, perhaps not a great deal, but hopefully a little bit. And perhaps just the freezing and thawing processes will help with the release of some of the moisture coming along with these food items. I mean, if you ask me, I think that the moisture levels in these systems seem quite nice, but then again, we only inspected the feeding zone where a bunch of melon and cucumber had been placed last time, so it would probably make good sense to sort of see how things look out on the outskirts. Let's give them a little worm chow too. Let's see how things look on the outskirts of these systems. Oh, it feels to me like moisture level's nice over there too. And look how many worms. Holy cow. I almost didn't know what to expect. I almost wondered if perhaps we'd have more worms down near where the feedings had been applied. But it does seem to me like perhaps we've seen even more worms just hanging out on the outer edges. Same thing over here in bin number 1. Yeah, wow. Very cool. Lots of nice castings starting to pile up. I guess if nothing else, we're giving the material out there a little bit of aeration. I think last time we might have blended in some of the leafy top dressing material that we found in the bin when we first came in. Because I didn't really see any of that, but I remember it making an appearance in the last video, perhaps just in the beginning. And then the stuff got spread around. So perhaps a whole bunch of nice loose leafy matter getting blended in all over the place resulted in the worms really feeling comfortable, you know, cruising around in every section of the bin. And I am glad to see that the newspaper top coverings are managing to keep things at the right moisture levels down here too. I must admit that was kind of one of my main concerns, was that perhaps these systems would see a little bit too much drying as a result of them having only newspaper top coverings, but I must say things look really nice here with these original red wigglers. And that pretty much brings us to the end of this check-in. You can even see just from the way all this material sort of sticks to my glove. If it was really dry, it would all flake off, but the fact that it's got this kind of tendency to stick a little bit to my gloves, I think is a clear sign that it is pretty damp and a little bit sticky, but not bad. Stuff that the worms definitely like. So that's it for our check-in. Now with the original red wiggler worms doing really nice in here on day 144. And, well, we'll probably check in on them in another similar interval of 10 or 12 days. But for now, I think we're in good shape. And they'll be just fine without us for the next week and a half, 2 weeks. All right, everyone, that's it for the video. Hopefully you enjoyed it. If you did, as always, please don't forget to leave me a quick thumbs up before you go. That's always really appreciated. And if you haven't done so already, please also consider subscribing to the channel. That's very much appreciated as well. All right, everyone, have a great day. Thanks for watching. Bye now.